essentials for mental well-being. So we're going to look at how habits, identity, and values play a part in that. So habits and your identity. These are quotes, again, from that Atomic Habits book. The real reason habits matter is not because they can get you better results, although they can do that, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. Your habits shape your identity and vice versa. Becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to upgrade and expand your identity. So this is something from Atomic Habits, but here's another quotation that some of us know of Grace Van Duzen's. The opinions we have of ourselves are inevitably conveyed to others. If we are grasshoppers in our sight, that is the picture imprinted in the eyes of others. Isn't that amazing? How we think of ourselves imprints, you can say, in the feeling realms of the people that we're with. So if we think of ourselves as something low and something embarrassed, then people are going to pick up on that and have that perceptions of ourselves. I thought that was a great way that Grace articulated that. So identity and habits mixed with your values matter. So let's look at values now. Why should I know my values? They serve as guideposts during your life journey, during our life journey. So when things get cloudy and dark, you can say, sometimes all we can do is rely on our values to help navigate us through those dark times. Even when things are really coming in on us, what do we do to ground ourselves in that respect? So our values serve as a compass as your life story unfolds. So with a compass, we can recognize maybe it can guide us towards a light path rather than a darker path. So it relates on our value system alignment. So if you look at our values in terms of most important core value, one value that is the center of all that you believe and can never be compromised. So thinking about how we can align ourselves with our core value in that respect. One value that is at the center of all that you believe and can never be compromised. Enabling values. 3 values you regard as critical, and without them, you would flounder. Influencing value, 1 value to help you influence and successfully interact with others. So let's look at it in terms of examples of core values. Patience, knowing peace. I had some input, some help with this presentation, and the person gave me some hints there in terms of making values active values. So knowing peace, feeling gratitude, being sensible, being trustworthy, telling the truth, being loyal. So core values. I'm sure you can think of more others too. So just for example, just an example, we're going to do this exercise for yourselves, but as I filled it out and considered these matters, so my most important core value I consider is the integrity of love. Making sure that's never compromised. Now, one way of protecting that, I find, is through praise. And if something comes up that challenges my integrity of love, I remember as quick as possible just to praise that situation. And I feel it as I've done that it's allowed me to protect that sensing, internal sensing of the integrity of love within myself. And then from that stance, I feel wisdom is guided. My mind is more guided with wisdom. And then my interest in harmonizing with others in the nature of that. And influencing value, and centrally, my interest is to provide a blessing for others. So those are what I've come up for, my core value, my enabling values, and my influencing value. Now let's see, there's other core values. These are some listing of here. So some people are into adventure, balance, commitment, community, companionship. So consider these here: family, financial security, integrity, independence, influence, humility. So just get your wheels turning. And as you do, considering these things and seeing here for yourself, what do you value? So let's take some time on our own. And if you don't have this sheet printed up, just use a paper, pen and paper, and let's consider those and see what you come up with. for your own self-reflection. Okay, so let's look at this a little different angle, I think you might appreciate. So our mind is to keep the values in our heart. And those values, if our heart and our mind again are aligned, then our body can feel the energetics of that again, which can allow for the energy we need to play our part with others. But the attitudes of, say, thankfulness, appreciation, patience, those are receptive values that open us up to the pathway from above, from what's true of us. So the true identity of ourselves, you could say, is beyond our conscious mind, but it's there all the time, the being that we are. But we need to position our hearts to be receptive. Receptive values open up that pathway for us to begin to feel, you can say, the essence of ourselves in our heart. And when we do that, then it comes down into our heart, down into our minds. It works inside of our bodies, and then it gets out into the world. And you can say what's true of us is looking to express outward. We're not here to look to figure out who we are. We're here to let who we are express fluidly, flowingly through us, through this mechanism. You can say this is the operating design of our innate human capacities. And when that design is in place, then what is true of you is looking to express outward. And for our true mental well-being, our mind is to keep a receptive heart. As simple as that. I gave a presentation at a junior high school, and I came down to one simple thing for the kids. And that was, your mind has one primary responsibility, and that's to keep your heart. Your mind is the guardian of our heart. Our mind is to keep the values fixed in our heart, those receptive values. And when that happens, then we feel the alignment of that. And there's actually a cadence with it, which is called heart rate variability, in terms of what we find out science-wise, that we're going to be looking at more in our next session, of actually how do we position our hearts with the proper rhythms that allows for us, you can say, for thankfulness, appreciation, patience, or other receptive values to be held in our heart. So that'll be the next step. But just for here, outlining for tonight, for today, for what mental well-being is. True mental well-being is when our mind is keeping a receptive heart. So our next session, essentials for emotional well-being, which will get more into heart rate variability and more about how do we keep our heart in a proper way. So concluding thoughts, what commitment will you make this week to enhance your state of mental well-being, or you can say our overall well-being? So let's consider that for ourselves. Like, what commitment do you think you need to make this week for an enhanced sense of mental well-being? And you can say as well as your overall well-being.